Hello and welcome to another edition of Straight from the Training Ground, the podcast where we share our love for the beautiful game and the people out in our communities doing beautiful things. We're very delighted to have a special guest with us this week, Noah Cavanaugh. Noah grew up in the Seattle area. He went on to play at the college level, at the Division III level. He's also played professionally in Spain for Real Union Club, which is in the third division in Spain. He's played in Denmark. He's played in the United States. And most importantly, we're here to talk about his YouTube channel where he's done some amazing things with boot reviews. So thanks for taking the time to talk some soccer with us, Noah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Well, I told you before we started the interview, I love your room there. It's fantastic, man. Makes me want to try on some boots.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Got some stuff from all different eras.
I love it. So real quick, just tell everybody a little bit. I think, like we said, you have an interesting pathway. You played Division III collegiately, and then you went on to play abroad in some different countries professionally. So just tell us real quick a little bit about your background as a player.
Yeah. So grew up in the Seattle area, like you said, and played club soccer through about 13 years old. When I hit 13, that's when my parents were like, hey, you can now focus on one sport if you want to. So played soccer, basketball, and swam basically till I was 13, and then started focusing just in the Premier Soccer level when I was 13 years old. Never played with the academy or anything like that. Went and committed to Whitman College in Washington State. Absolutely loved it there. It was an awesome experience. Really, for me, was the epitome of you got to like the place that you go if you're going to go play collegiate soccer. I think there's a lot of conversation nowadays around, should kids go to college in America to play? Should they not? For me, it was absolutely crucial to my development. I don't think at 18 I was a good player, but I definitely wasn't at the level that I needed to be to jump to that pro game. And so for me, the developmental period of time was absolutely crucial for me. Played under some really great coaches in college, and then after I graduated from college, went and played over in Spain for about half a season, got some interesting stuff with visas and everything that is much more difficult for foreign players. And so that's something that I always try to tell people is, if you can, try to make it in your own country. It makes paperwork a lot easier, which thankfully now America has several pro divisions and for all different levels. And so was able to come back, play in America for a couple of years, played in Australia where I met my now wife, which is awesome. And then played back in America again for a couple of years. So that's sort of the trajectory.
That's fantastic. And you're in Australia right now, correct?
Yep. In Melbourne.
I love it. So I think I love what you said. I think people don't realize not only is it difficult to make it in various countries as a player, but there's visas and paperwork and all kinds of different things that young people don't understand, Yeah. So all soccer players, have an affection for their feet and their boots. Obviously, that's kind of our main piece of equipment. But, was there any certain point in your life or any time as a player where you felt like, you were even more detailed and particular about boots and really drawn to that, the specific part of boots and your love for them, maybe more so than just the average player?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was a kid, they went through a couple different names. Now, obviously, soccer.com is kind of the main player in the American retail space. But I used to, whether it was Soccer World or soccer.com, back then they had magazines. And so that was like toilet reading for me, basically. It was like every month we got our soccer.com catalog. And I got the Pro Direct one over from England as well before they made the move to America. And I had always just had this fascination for football boots. And of course, my parents were playing it really well, I think, which was, hey, you can't get a pair of sort of the elite tier models until you stop growing, because we're not going to, you're not going to pay $250, $300 for a pair of boots if you're going to grow out of them in 3 months. And so it was always sort of this aspirational thing of like, oh, I can't wait till I stop growing and then I can, finally get that pair of boots. And we took a really cool trip to England when I was like 14. It was the first time I'd ever been out of the country outside of Canada, which for Seattleites is basically just it's home. Basically, that's BC is essentially Seattle. It's the same thing. So first time, out of the country, and I remember my parents are all interested in the castles and all this other cool stuff and, the London Bridge and whatever. And I was just looking up, like, what are the soccer stores I can go to that I
Yeah.
can try on all these different boots. And so it was pretty young where I really got the obsession. And then, of course, when I stopped growing, that was when I could sort of indulge a little bit more in the style of boot that I wanted to play in.
That's great. So I'm very curious, and I think people watching this will find it interesting. Can you explain? I've watched a lot of your videos. You've grown into a great following now with your YouTube channel. But what's the timeline? Whether you buy them, you get them in the mail, from when you get a pair of boots in your hand. Okay, can you explain the timeline till when you actually have the video uploaded and the full review done on YouTube?
That's a great question. So, and I think this is often a misconception with people who ask questions about, hey, the new F50 remakes
Yeah.
that are actually in my car, they just dropped, and I'm getting questions, a day later, like, when's the video coming out? And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, whoa, 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 give me a second. It's going to depend. So scenario A is I get the boots in, let's say, 2 weeks before they actually drop, and there's an embargo on any sort of social content until, let's say, May 1st or whatever it is.
Okay.
And so I'm able to prepare that video and have it ready for May 1st. That's actually a very select amount of boots. What's often happening is a brand or Ultra Football or whoever I'm working with will send boots over, and they'll drop on, let's say, May 1st again. And then it'll take me probably about 2 to 3 days to film the full review and play test, which is sort of this new format that I'm really enjoying. And then it goes to my editor, who is absolutely wonderful. So Kelvin actually, as of right now, has a Google Drive with about 15 unedited videos. So I'm about 2 months ahead of schedule right now. So when people are like, when's this review coming out? It's like, sorry guys, there's other things in the pipeline. And so I would say if it's one that I really want to get out, it's usually about a week to 2 weeks.
Okay. And then scenario A, when you were talking about, there's certain marketing aspects, I guess, that you're saying you're not allowed to put that out until a certain date. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you'll notice, and this happens with any sort of product, whether it's cars or technology or, the new iPhone or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube on the day that product, hard launches,
Yeah.
every single reviewer will have a review. And it's like, why does every single reviewer have the same video coming out on the same product? That's an embargo day.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Very
Yep.
cool. Well, it's interesting. So, can you take us through the process a little bit? And before you do, I just want to tell everybody, if you haven't seen any of Noah's videos, I'm going to pull up your YouTube channel while you talk here in a minute. But what I love about it, and it must be difficult because you're wearing a mic a lot of times, like you said on some of the newer ones with a play test, and you're trying to do a little training, but you're also trying not to breathe heavy and explain yourself.
Yeah.
But what's your kind of explain your overall I don't know what to call it, but the overall video in itself. You kind of warm up a little bit, you try them out, then you hit some balls, do some passing, but you have a pretty consistent format that you follow, that I've
Mhm.
noticed at least, which I think is great because you're not just sitting there looking at them, talking about them. And I like, when I'm watching those things, I like to see you, and I like to see how I know what's coming. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
kind of always the
Mhm.
same format. So I'll pull up your YouTube page, and you just explain the format. You go out to the park, you start recording. What do you do?
Yeah, so after we obviously have like the in studio shots. So that's kind of the angle you're seeing here, which is just on my laptop, but there's usually a camera there. We go through the unboxing experience, which for me is kind of cool for some people who never are going to wear the boots, but they can kind of see what it's like to get them open. But
Yeah.
once we get out to the pitch, it's really about like, hey, let me get like an array of drills that express different styles of movement and contact with the ball. So I want a little bit of a ladder drill that's going to give you some footwork and some idea of how the sole plate's digging into the ground. I want a little bit of really quick tight touches to get sort of the feel for the upper. Then I'm going to do a little bit of warming up in terms of passing or shooting. That's kind of that passing movement. And then you start to get into more game-like scenarios where it's, it's a winger drill and you're dribbling 1v1, and then you get out of the cones and you take a strike on goal. You get some free kicks in there and the crossbar challenge just for entertainment purposes. But I think the rest of those drills really are sort of how can I hit kind of all the major points of how a player would experience those boots and bring it to the audience in a way that's digestible, so that I can have a conversation and be like, hey, real time, this is what this is how that boot is feeling and how it's reacting.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. I love that. I'm going to put you on the spot now. So I want you to tell us, there's one boot that comes to mind. I'm sure, you've been through many, as we can tell by your room already, but, give us one that you were really excited about. You get it, you unbox it, you go out, and you were just really disappointed.
Yeah. So actually quite recently put up a pair, and you could probably see it on the channel too. It's the Puma Future 8 Ultimate was an incredible disappointment. And that's a boot that I was really interested in because the 7 I wasn't a super big fan of, and got out to the pitch, and it was actually the first time in my entire YouTube career where I sort of, rage quit a video, basically.
Really?
Yeah. I have like a 5-minute rant at the end of that about why I think they're bad and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and honestly, as I don't have a lot of time to play anymore. I'm a high school coach and I coach club and I have 2 kids, and but I still love boots, and I love, still wearing them and trying them out. And I love that honesty, though. I feel like for you have to be honest, correct? I mean, because
Always.
that's what gives people an appreciation, and that's going to keep coming back to your channel, because if you're not honest, you're not really gaining a lot other than just pure entertainment, correct?
For sure. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I appreciate that honesty. I think it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a unique space to be in, I think, because you have a lot of reviewers who are great, like absolutely amazing, but are attached to a store, or they're attached to something like, a soccer.com unfortunately can't give a purely objective review because they have to sell product. And so it's just a different, and that's, again, I'm not like, there's no slander at all. It's more just a different style of review.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, so now on a positive note, what was one boot you were kind of leery about, or maybe, you didn't expect a whole lot, and then once you put them on and tried them out, you were really, just very surprised?
I would say the Skechers Razor was really interesting. It's a boot that I was not expecting anything out of. I knew that they had hired over a bunch of Nike executives in terms of their design team and some of their football people. And I was going into the boot being like, okay, it's probably fine. It's probably relatively average, and got it on and was like, whoa, they've done something really cool here.
Yeah. Wow. That's tremendous. I
Yeah.
have not seen them in person yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about them. Yeah. They're so very
Yeah. Some
cool.
really cool touches.
So as you can see here, fan of Uno Zero myself, and we have a little bit of a relationship there. So I just want to throw in real quick. I did recently see you did the new Uno Zero Evento, kind of their new, I don't know what category you put that in. It's a speed boot, but it's still a classic leather boot.
For sure.
But you had a little bit of help with the behind the scenes with them, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Did some consulting for them and help them through the prototype process.
And what is that like?
So basically how it works with how I do it, or like an SOP, if you will, is basically it is a package deal for one round of prototype testing. So if, let's say Sam at Uno Zero sends me the first prototype pair, I go through and test them over the course of about a month or 2 months, depending on the package that he picks. And I'm making, Sharpie marks on the boots. I'm showing him on camera. So I'm filming stuff actually while I'm playing. Obviously, the viewers of my channel will never see that footage because that's for the brands. It's a consulting, package. And then we have weekly or bi-weekly meetings where he can ask questions, feedback real time as I'm testing the boots over the course of that process. And we go from, really kind of rough prototype all the way to what's now on the market with the new Avento, which turned out to be a fantastic pair of football boots.
Some secret behind the scenes info here on Straight from the Training Ground.
That's it.
What do you so what do you hope for, long term? Obviously, I know you enjoy this because you can tell in your videos and your enthusiasm for boots. What do you hope long term would be the best case scenario for your YouTube channel and just boot reviews in general?
Yeah, I hope to build a platform that is kind of the first point of contact for people who maybe don't have the ability to go into a physical store. Obviously, after COVID happened, a lot of stores shut down. And so, a lot of people are now depending on reviewers like myself and like other people on YouTube and Instagram to sort of give them the information to find the best thing that fits their foot. And I think for me, building out a small group, and this is like first time on the internet I'm sharing this, so world exclusive. So yeah, the goal is really to have, I would like to be presenting and unboxing and giving my expertise, but I know that I'm not bulletproof. I'm not going to be able to do the type of training on camera that I do all the time. And so ideally, I'd like to bring in maybe 2 or 3 other personalities on the channel that become sort of mainstays of the Noah Cavanaugh brand or whatever that morphs itself into, where that becomes like, hey, we now have 2 female players, 2 male players, and then I'm sort of behind the screen, pulling the strings a little bit and presenting, maybe even talking to these players live on pitch about their playing experience with the boots, to really not only, I think, find the best for the consumer, but also hopefully encourage the brands themselves to be creating the best possible product for consumer and not sort of diving into the whole hype train around certain technology or whatever.
I do think you brought up a good point. It's difficult still. I mean, in the United States, it's gotten a lot better, obviously, but it's still difficult to find soccer specific stores. There
Totally.
are sporting goods stores, but it's very hard to find a lot of the higher level. Well, I would say the variety. There are some higher level, but it's hard to find a variety of boots, and you really have to go to a soccer specific store. So that really is a great spot for you, I guess, on YouTube to provide that to a lot of people who don't have access to that otherwise. What advice do you have to people, whether it's a YouTube channel, it doesn't have to be necessarily boot reviews, but you've done a great job, obviously. What advice do you have to younger people out there that are thinking about doing something like this or anything similar?
Yeah, absolutely. I think starting to record yourself communicating is actually, at a very base level, is actually such an amazing skill builder.
It's weird,
Because
isn't
it's
it?
oh, it's so weird, right? And when you get used to talking to a camera, you get into a real conversation with somebody and it's super easy. It becomes so much more flowy. I'm not saying or all the time anymore because I'm used to recording at such a, professional level. And so that, for me, whatever your niche is, whatever you're interested in, I would say just start going for it. Just start filming, start to maybe do it on your phone if you want to, do it on a small GoPro, whatever that means for you. And you'll start to understand, okay, what is my audience like? Am I building an audience? Is that even important to me? And start to kind of discover, here are the things that, I want to focus on as I get older and further along in my footballing career or in life. Because you may have a channel later on that's how I keep football fit when I'm a dad. That could be like the niche that you live in. And maybe it's not boots anymore. Maybe it's a career thing. So I always tell people who want to start a channel, you just got to start. And you have to start somewhere. And that's the reason I keep all of my old videos on my channel. If you go to like the very, very oldest, they are horrifying.
Yeah.
They are really bad. And I'm trying to talk in this
my
big
first one,
voice.
so
Yeah. But you're trying to put on this persona and there's all this thing. And now it's a lot more natural because I'm 5+ years into it now. But I think you got to be okay with the long game. And that's really all it is.
I love that, and that was the best piece of advice I got as well. When I started doing this, a guy I spoke to said, "Just do it," and I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "You just go post 10 or 20 videos. I don't even care what they are." And I
Totally.
was like, "On YouTube?" And yep, just do it. And now I understand what he means. You just have to kind of get started. And like you said, it is weird, and it does take some time. But some great information here from Noah Cavanaugh. If you're just tuning in, make sure you check out his YouTube page. Fantastic stuff there. Boot reviews galore, great honest reviews. And I'm going to get you out of here on one last question. Are you ready for this? If you had a game today, Noah, what boots you wearing?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably the Wave Cup SS Japan from Mizuno.
Oh, I know you're a Mizuno fan. Yeah.
Yeah, these are absolutely stunning. So that's my go-to.
I love it. I love it. You had him right there by your side too. And he didn't know that. We didn't plan that.
Yeah.
Love it. The Mizuno. So again, make sure you check him out on YouTube. Noah Cavanaugh, some great stuff. He's all over Instagram as well and social media. Noah, really appreciate you taking the time coming to us today from Australia. But glad you could make it work, and keep up the great work and the amazing honest reviews.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
This episode brought to you by our official sponsor, Salt Athletic. Make sure you check out their innovative science behind keeping the stink out of your cleats and goalkeeper gloves.